So Rotten Tomatoes gave One Battle After Another a 94%, very healthy tomato. And I'm calling them on bullshit. I just got done watching it. It was 3 hours long, and it was hard to watch. And it genuinely felt like one battle after another trying to actually watch this movie to completion. The storyline, it felt weak. The script felt weak. The characters in the movie were unrelatable and honestly pretty much all just insufferable people who just cared about themselves, which is really hard to keep me invested when even the main character I just don't care about. Leonardo DiCaprio's character that he played, Ghetto Pat, I think you're supposed to feel for him and root for him, and at the end of the day, all I saw was just like a bumbling idiot who kind of accidentally stumbled on every bit of success that he found in the movie. Wasn't really good. It's really timely because obviously it's supposed to be a political piece that goes and highlights the separation between the left and the right. So it could have been cool. It had a lot of potential, but in the end it just falls flat. And then they cover it up with some beautiful cinematography, really cool scenery, but it just feels like a cash grab on current events. And at the end of the day, with a weak script, weak characters.
My name is Jungle Pussy. This is what power looks like.
And just with an overall boring movie that takes itself way too serious and goes on for way too long, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. I don't think it's anywhere near a 94% that Rotten Tomatoes gave it. And I wouldn't recommend it to people, and I sure as hell would not spend another 3 hours watching this movie over again. I wouldn't do it. So there's 3 hours of my life I don't feel like I'm ever going to get back. And yeah, there you go. That's my thoughts on the movie. For those of you who don't want any kind of spoilers because you're still planning on seeing the movie, I'm going to do a quick plot recap. So essentially this movie, it's set in modern day America, and it follows a domestic terrorist group who is known as the French 76. Say domestic terrorism because they are domestic terrorists, but they're fighting against oppression from the government, and they think that they're fighting for a better world and more freedom, when all they're really doing is just blowing up public infrastructure. And for the first 30 minutes of the movie, we just see Leonardo DiCaprio playing Ghetto Pat and Teyana Taylor playing Perfidia, just essentially licking each other's faces and grinding on each other and then blowing up random stuff. Eventually they run into Captain Stephen Lockjaw, who becomes their enemy. He holds a grudge and catches up to Perfidia in the future, and he blackmails her. Tells her she's going to have sex with him or he's going to take her into jail. And then 9 months later, she's pregnant and she's unsure of who the father is. So shortly after her child's birth, she's confronted by Lockjaw again after a failed French 76 raid. He confronts her in the hospital and he gives her two choices. He's like, rat out your group or face a lifetime in prison. And true to the story and her character so far, as a person who's completely insufferable, really only cares about herself, she chooses to flip. She chooses to flip, and she rats out her entire group, which leads to the French 76 pretty much getting destroyed. We're gifted with a 16-year later time skip where we see Ghetto Pat, he's now known as Bob, with his daughter Willa, and they're living off the grid, trying to still hide from the government, still trying to hide from Lockjaw. And Lockjaw finally ends up locating them. He's been searching for them for 16 years. He finds them, and it sends the father-daughter duo on the run to survive. And Willa is taken to safety by the remaining French 76 members, but Bob, who has now fried his brain from 16 years straight of drug use and alcohol, doesn't remember where any of the safe houses are, can't remember any of their cool secret keywords, so he has no clue where his daughter is. So this whole movie is him trying to figure out what his lost memories were and how can he find his daughter. Along the way, we're introduced to Sensei Sergio, who's the leader of his own underground railroad, helping immigrants gain entry into the country and providing them with work, food, and shelter. And Sensei ends up helping Bob in his journey, giving him the power of friendship and a weapon to help him to find Willa. Classic. Sprinkle in a bit of billionaire, racist, all-white cult pulling the government strings in the background, and voila, you got one battle after another. So it sounds like it would have been a very interesting story. However, with the weak script that was written for this movie, unfortunately, you could remove like a ton of different aspects. You don't even have to include Perfidia's entire backstory in the film. It's the same movie. And you could honestly erase like half the stuff with Ghetto Pat or Bob and his whole entire journey of trying to save his daughter, and I think you'd still have the same movie, which is a problem because the main plot is a dad trying to find his daughter. Lockjaw was just a very extremely lame bad guy. The entire racist underground cult didn't even need to show up on screen. It was like they were known as the Christmas Adventurers Club, which is just very fitting because their group was just as lame as the name was. And they didn't feel at all like they were menacing or evil or anything. They just seemed like a bunch of racist guys that just hung out in a little room and essentially just like circle jerked and did nothing all day.
Jim, Merry Christmas, Hail St. Nick.
Merry Christmas.
How you doing?
Good, good.
It's been too long.
Yeah, it's good to see you again, Sam.
You know Virgil Throckmorton. Virgil's down from Cleansing and Distortion.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And you know Bill Desmond from Whitehall.
Bill, good to see you again. Merry Christmas.
And of course you know Roy Moore, 5th Fleet Field General from the Southwest.
Absolutely, sir. Good morning.
Take a seat.
I'd like to see the villain actually act villainous. So that was just stupid. And then every single character in the movie was, like I said earlier, it just felt to me to be completely insufferable. And like they only cared about themselves, except for Sergio. There you go. That was the only really good character in the entire movie, played by Del Toro, was Sensei Sergio. But other than him, every other character just felt weak, uninspired, and just not fun to watch. And then again, with that 3-hour-long runtime, every single scene in this movie felt just way too drawn out and long and just made it boring. So the movie, I thought overall, it was very disappointing, and I don't think it was deserving of a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. It got nominated for an Oscar. It was hyped to be this huge, amazing political art masterpiece set in modern day America, and it just didn't hit that. So there you go. Didn't like the movie. Don't waste your time watching it. And yeah, I'm gonna see you on the next one.